Welcome back to Emyr's Engineering Solutions for part 2 of the tractor grab repair. First of all, I'd like to make a slight apology for not saying my farewell on the last video. It ended quite abruptly, so that's the first thing to say. And second thing to say, well, it's not second thing to say, without further ado, we'll go on to actually what we're going to do today. So, like in the last video, if you've seen part 1, I said we were going to put a little bush in on here. And here's what we've come up with. Actually this is the internal one. That's going to go on there. Push this through slightly. I'll show you. That's going to go on there. So I thought I'd show you how we came to make one of these. Basically it's a solid piece of bar stock which we've drilled a hole through the centre of it. I've then used the boring bar. Trying to do that one-handed is not the easiest. There, that boring bar, and we've used that to bore through it out to the right size. I normally allow about 1.5 to 2 thou clearance on a pin, but on these I have allowed about 3 to 4 thou clearance due to the fact that when we weld it, they will shrink. And what we don't want to do is them to shrink too much and be tight on the pin. Now this is a bit of a trial and error. I have tried to find out some information on this, of how much things shrink depending on how much heat goes into them and the size of the bush. I haven't been able to find any information at all on that. No information that's actually useful to use. I've had a lot of things that if you're at 200 degrees it's going to shrink this much, and if you're at 800 degrees it'll shrink this much, and if the weld's 10 mil wide. But the likes of you and I working in our workshops, or whether it be at home, DIY, or as a professional like I am, trying to work out at what temperature your welding piece is to within 100 degrees is not the easiest of things, unless you've got a thermometer of some sort, like a laser thermometer, but they normally only go up to about 700 degrees anyway. So that's where we're at. So what I've actually been doing is I've been making bushes like this for many jobs now, every couple of weeks. So I've just started to write them down in a book, and basically it's trial and error, what works and what doesn't. And on a bush this sort of size, I found that you put the clearance on and add about 2 to 3 thou, and I find that works reasonably well. So turn that back on the tool change to the face off. And what we're going to do is just face that off to size. I've actually cut this with a grinder, its length. What I normally would do is cut it off in the, I call it the donkey saw, it's the oscillating saw, just a power hacksaw, some people will call it. But unfortunately, because this was an off cut and it was only about 2-3 inches long, the way that the vice is constructed on the power hacksaw, it won't hold it. So we've ended up cutting this with a grinder. That's the short of it. So how am I going to mount this phone so you can actually see this with me turning handles? Or try and do it one-handed, I suppose. That's one option of it. Make sure that's tight. Just come up to the workpiece so it starts to touch. Work your way in. I'm sorry that these videos do take quite a long time. I do all my videos in real time so you can actually see what's going on. I might miss out the odd operation to shorten the video, but the actual lathe operations and whatnot that you see will all be in real time. None of them are speeded up. So we get to that stage. Now, here's a controversial thing which some people will agree with, some people won't. It's controversial because of a safety factor. Here now, we've got an internal bore, which is bored. We've also got the, just faced off, and where they join, there's a 90-degree and quite a sharp edge. Sometimes, I'm trying to zoom in, see if you can see it. Sometimes you get a, what they call an orifice, not orifice, that's a hole, what do they call it? There's a word quite similar to that, for the actual sharp sort of burr left there. So what they've we're off train of thought now, trying to think of that word. That burr, trying to remove that. Now on a conventional tool post like we've got, if you had a quick change tool post now, we just take that off and we drop in a chamfering tool and just chamfer it off quickly, and that'll be the job done. But on a quick change, on a standard conventional tool post, you have to change each tool manually. It takes quite a while. So what I was told by an old boy is, if I can actually find it, fire it up and carefully, and I mean carefully, just run a file on its edge. And that'll take orifice away, and we'll just run a bit of sandpaper off that when we get it off the lathe, and that will be fine. So whether you agree with that or not, put your comments in the comment box. I'm going to put you down for a second. You're going to have a little look, a bit of swarf while I undo this. And we're back again. So that's what we've ended up with. And this one, once we've ground this bit of weld up here, it's going to be welded onto there. And then we're going to put the pin all the way through. And what I'm going to do with this one, I think, is because we've got quite a thick bush there, I'm going to cross drill through it. And cross drill through the pin. If I put that on first, I can show you better. Cross drill through it, straight through, put a bar, weld this round obviously, and then put a pin straight through. That will secure that, and it'll do away with these little lynch pins. These things are brilliant for what they're intended for, but in this sort of operation, what happens is you start shoveling brash or straw or something with it, and inevitably, it's amazing how it happens, but things wrap around these pins, the pin opens, it rattles as it's shaken, the load out, the pin falls out, this pin slowly then over time works its way to there, works its way just out of that. The next time the hydraulic ram comes round, it pulls that and bends this ear off. I've seen it hundreds of times. So if you look at all the diggers now, they're usually drilled through with a pin through, nut and bolt, normally a nylock. What I like to do is put a nut and bolt and maybe two nuts, a standard nut and then a nylock nut. So not only is the nylock nut and never got that nylock value, it's also working as a lock nut against the standard nut. So there we are, that's the second part done. This is a very long video, actually. I just looked at the time, it's 9 minutes, so I hope that some of you are still watching. So without further ado, I'll leave you all, and I hope you enjoyed that. And before we go, I'll also apologise for the very shaky camera about 7 minutes in when it all went shaky. So thank you very much, cheers for watching, and we'll catch you again on part 3.